Welcome back to another installment of Everything NHL, the hockey segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and we're here with our hockey expert, James Kumar.
Hey, what's up, man?
So, so today we're going to go over Wednesday's games. There isn't really any games on Thursday and Friday because it's All-Star weekend. So we'll take a look at some pickups and then we'll take a look at the rosters for the All-Star game and we'll talk about it.
All right, sounds good. Let's hop into it.
All right. So for Wednesday's game, we'll start with surprising win by Seattle against the Islanders. They scored 3 goals in the third period to win. I think Jared McCann, Vince Dunn, and Mason Appleton were all able to get goals in the third period to beat the Islanders in pretty much a last-minute shutout, just about. So what do you think about that?
Honestly, I think it's the first shutout in Seattle Kraken history, so congrats to them. They did it against a New York Islanders team that they really struggled to score goals. So, yeah, it made sense. And yeah, both of these two teams, they've struggled all year. Of course, the New York Islanders, they had all sorts of things to deal with. And even when everything settled, whether it was the new arena or not having players on COVID, they just still aren't playing that great. So I really don't think they're a contender to make the playoffs by any stretch. And yeah, for Seattle, we talked about them. They've just been rebuilding an expansion team, right? So not even rebuilding, building an expansion team. So yeah, they have a lot of leeway. Probably give them even like the first 5 years before there's any expectations.
Yeah, I guess for the Islanders, there's way more expectations because the Kraken, although they haven't been doing too well, the Islanders haven't really been doing that great either. They're like a little bit below 500, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, both teams, they're below 500. The East, the playoffs is pretty much locked up at this point unless some team goes on a crazy losing streak. So I don't think any team that's below the playoff line really has much of a chance to make it in the East.
Pretty much. And I guess moving on to the next game, we have an impressive game by the Edmonton Oilers. They were able to beat Washington 5-3. We have in the first period goals by Leon Draisaitl, Evander Kane, and Connor McDavid for Edmonton, and a goal by Lars Eller for Washington. In the second period, we have a goal by Connor Sheary for Washington. And in the third period, we have a goal by Evgeny Kuznetsov for Washington and 2 goals by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for Edmonton. What are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Oilers get off to a quick start. Everyone thought, they've been playing better, so this is kind of like the way they've been playing. But then they just let Washington come back and tie the game 3-3, and everyone's like, oh man, the Oilers are blowing a 3-goal lead. Then they get 2 goals from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think one of them was shorthanded late in the third period to put this game away. So yeah, good win for the Oilers overall. Washington, they sort of been up and down lately. They're probably one of the teams that I'm kind of thinking that they need to get things together, or else they could potentially fall out of the playoffs. But I mean, they are in a wild card right now, so they are pretty safe. But yeah, I think both of these teams have struggled a little bit. Oilers are sort of turning it around now, and hopefully Washington can do the same.
I think as of right now, I think Alex Ovechkin does have COVID, so they're basically going to be trying to play for some time without their best players. So what do you think their chances are of at least staying in a wild card spot?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he played in this game, so that could be one of the main reasons that they didn't win. But also, yeah, hopefully he won't miss too much time after the All-Star break. He has the break to sort of get healthy. So I think, yeah, he should be able to play in the coming weeks. So they should be okay.
Sure. And I guess moving on to the next game, we have Los Angeles Kings versus the Detroit Red Wings. Pretty impressive game by LA. I think they beat Detroit at Detroit's home, if I'm not mistaken. They won 5-3. So really impressive job by the Kings. We have Michael Rasmussen for Detroit in the first, And in the second period, we had Philip Deneau and Arthur Kaliev for LA. And in the second period and in the third period, we have Tyler Bertuzzi and Joe Veleno for Detroit. And we had Philip Deneau with another goal, Victor Arvidsson and Adrian Kemp with goals of their own for LA. And what are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, LA put up a strong performance in Detroit to sort of close off before the All-Star break. Yeah, LA's really had a great season, if I'm being honest. They look like they're probably the second best team in the Pacific Division right now, which is a big surprise from where we sort of projected them at the beginning of the season. They're right in there behind Vegas. They're getting wins. I mean, Detroit's one of the better home teams in the East. So going to Detroit and get a big win. They take like what 40 some shots on Alex Nedeljkovic. Yeah. Really solid game overall for the Kings. Obviously for Detroit, didn't work out in their favor. They are still pretty good at home. So I think this was just sort of a one-off, but yeah, I really was impressed with the Kings here.
Yeah, the Kings are well above 500, so a really big step, especially from last season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They've been playing really solid.
And moving on to the next game, we finally have a win from Calgary. They were able to beat Arizona at Arizona's home, I believe, 4-2. So good job by Calgary. We have Blake Coleman and Elias Lindholm in the first period for Calgary, and we have Alex Galchenyuk for Arizona in the first as well. In the second period, we have Clayton Keller for Arizona and Christopher Tanev for Calgary. And in the third period, we have Blake Coleman for Calgary. And what are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, Calgary getting it done on the road again. They've been really solid over the course of the season on the road. I don't think Arizona played bad in this game. Their goalie Vamelka, he made like 46 saves. So Calgary's just been taking a lot of shots. Yeah, I think that both teams played pretty well considering their situations. Calgary really needed the win, and they played pretty desperate in this game, and it paid off. So they were able to get 4 goals. And then for the Coyotes, they're not really playing for much, but still think they're pretty solid. The goalie made a lot of saves. They got a couple of goals. It's pretty much what you can expect from these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona's not necessarily the strongest team, but at the same time, you got to get your win somewhere, try to build some momentum for yourself and try to get your confidence back.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they can stay competitive, that's pretty much all we can ask for at this point because they're clearly trying to tank for draft picks at this point.
Yeah. And moving on to the next game, we have 5 goal shutout by Minnesota against Chicago. Really impressive job by Minnesota. No goals in the first period, but in the second period, we have Frederick Gaudreau, Matt Zuccarello, and Kirill Kaprizov, all from Minnesota. And in the third period, we have Kevin Fiala and Nico Sturm for Minnesota. What are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, this Minnesota team has been on kind of a tear lately. They really just don't want to be sitting in that wild card spot. They want to move into a top 3 division spot. So yeah, they've just been pouring it on. I think this is like what a 6-game win streak for them. Kevin Fiala extended his point streak to like 12 games or something. Yeah, this whole team is playing really solid. We've seen how good Matt Zuccarello and Kirill Kaprizov are together. And yeah, like this whole Minnesota team is just playing really well. Cam Talbot's healthy again. That's really good to see. I believe he's the one that got the shutout here, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, really solid overall for the Wild. And then for Chicago, it's just been a downhill spiral for them this season. They sort of tried to build themselves up, but it's just really hard for them to get back to 500. And yeah, I think it's too little, too late for them in terms of trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess this year in Chicago has just kind of been more of a down year, if anything. I guess it was a bit of a disappointment, especially when you saw the roster on paper, at least before the season. It looks like they were going to be a pretty deep playoff team, but it just hasn't really worked out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. High expectations, but they just really didn't pan out.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate there. And I guess that about concludes the recap for Wednesday's games. So I guess we can move on to the pickup portion of the podcast. And we'll start with forwards. Who do you have for forwards?
All right, so we'll get to forwards now for the pickups. I'll start with the center, Anton Lundell. He's a rookie for the Florida Panthers. He's under 30% rostered. He's just been on a tear lately. Um, what is it? I think in his last 5 games, he's had 1 goal, 7 assists. He's been like what, a plus 11 over those 5 games, something insane. I think it was a plus 6 in one of those games. Crazy. Yeah, he's getting like 1 or 2 shots per game. He'll throw a hit here and there. But yeah, he had a huge 5 assist game, especially. He's been really hot. His line mate as well, Mason Marchment. You can go pick him up as well. He plays left wing. He's also under 30% rostered. Been added around 25% in the last week. So people are really jumping on this guy. He also had a 6-point game. And he was plus 6 also. And over his last 5, he's been even hotter than Lundell. In his last 5 games, he has 6 goals. He has 6 assists. And he's, let me calculate this here. He's also a plus 11 as well because they play on the same line. Insane numbers. He had 6 shots in 2 of those games, and he had 7 hits in 1 of those games. So he covers categories across the board. Yeah, go pick up Lundell, go pick up Marchment. They play together. They've been really solid. I'm gonna have Alex Tuck as well. I've been talking about him for a few weeks from Buffalo. He plays both wing spots, around 35% rostered, and he quietly has been putting together a good season. In his last 3 games for Buffalo, 3 points. He has an even plus minus, so he's not hurting you there, even on a bad team. He has a combined 15 shots in 3 games, which is pretty insane, and he's got a hit. He averages a hit over every game, so yeah, another category coverage guy. Definitely go look at him. And I also added Victor Arvidsson because we talked about how hot the Kings were. He's been pretty hot. He plays both wing spots. He's more of a shallow league pickup because he's almost 50% rostered. But yeah, I think over his past 3 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, plus 3, 1 power play point. He has like 20 shots in 3 games, which is pretty unreal. And almost a hit per game. So yeah, if you really need those shot attempts, I mean, this guy, he'll take a shot from anywhere. Like he's just like that. So definitely go pick up Victor Arvidsson, and yeah, that's who I have for forwards.
Sure, those are some really impressive forwards. I guess my forward, I'll start with Anthony Cirelli first. He's from Tampa Bay. He's about 38% roster right now. He has really good stats across the board. 13 goals, 15 assists. He's plus 13, and he has 83 shots for the season. And he does get a couple of hits every other game as well. So really well-rounded forward. He should be available mostly in shallow leagues as he's 38% rostered. But if you're in a deeper league, he might be there as well. And I guess for my next forward, I think people can take a look at Tanner Jeannot. He's more of a shallow league pickup. He's about 48% rostered, but he has 14 goals, 13 assists. He's plus 8 with 71 shots, and he gets a lot of hits, around at least 3 hits almost every game. So again, a really good player overall. If you're in a shallow league, you're gonna want to pick him up before he becomes 50% rostered. And I guess for my last forward, I think people could maybe take a look at Tage Thompson in deeper leagues. He has 14 goals, 16 assists. He has 130 shots. He does get a decent amount of hits for forward as well. His plus minus is a little bit low because he's playing on Buffalo. It's about minus 10. But I think if you're in a deeper league and you need some scoring, you need assists, you need some shots, he should be able to make up for that, especially if you already have a few guys that have really decent plus minus. And that's about it for forwards. So who do you got for defense?
All right, let's get to defense here. First one I have is Brady Shea from Carolina. He's only around 20% rosters. You can get him pretty much everywhere. I'd say in his last 5 games, he's a goal and 2 assists. He's a plus 3. I'd say he has 10 shots over those 5 games, and he's got about 2, 4, 7 hits over those 5 games as well. So pretty well rounded. He doesn't over impress in a certain category, but just really solid overall. So if you need sort of a deep league guy, definitely go pick up Brady Shea. And then I also have Jonas Brodin from Minnesota. I think he's under 15% roster, so another deep league kind of guy. He just came back from the injured reserve. He played 3 games. Those 3 games, he had 2 assists. He was +1. He had a power play point. He had 6 shots and he had 3 hits. So, I mean, he's been hot right out of the gate those 3 games. Hopefully, he can keep it going after the All-Star break. But yeah, if you need a deep league defenseman, grab Jonas Brodin as well.
For sure. And I guess for some defensive players, I think people might want to take a look at. I think people could take a look at Shane Gostisbehere. He has 8 goals, 20 assists, 88 shots. He doesn't get too many hits, and his plus minus is a little bit low. But I think if you need some goals and some assists and some shots for, I guess, a defenseman, he's someone that you might want to pick up. He is 44% rostered, so he is mostly a shallow league pickup, but I think his value is worth it, especially if you already have a lot of guys with plus minus. And I guess for my next defenseman, I think people could maybe take a look at this Lindholm. He has 5 goals, 14 assists. He's +6 with 91 shots. So he's a defenseman that's available in deeper leagues. He's 17% rostered. I think he's pretty well-rounded for a defenseman, especially for a deep league defenseman. So he's definitely someone that I think people can pick up. And I guess who do you have for goals?
Yeah, so for goalies, I have Matt Murray. And the reason I have him, even though he plays for Ottawa, because he's been really solid. I know he's under 20% rostered. He's really turned around his season. He had some rough numbers at the beginning, but I think his last, 4 starts, he's had a goals against average of under 3 for every game. He's got 2 wins in that span, including 1 shutout. And yeah, doing those kind of numbers for Ottawa, it's pretty impressive. So if you really need a guy that's going to get you good numbers, even if he's on a bad team, which could mean more shot volume, which means more saves, go pick up Matt Murray.
For sure. And I guess people could take a look at Cal Peterson as well. He plays for LA. He has 11 wins for the season. His goals against average is a little bit high, 2.67, but his save percentage is basically at 90% exactly. LA has been really hot right now. I think out of Cal Peterson's 6 starts, he has 5 wins. So I think that's really impressive. It's about 37% rostered. So if you're in a fairly shallow league, he's definitely someone that you could probably, I guess, pick up and can be on your bench and start for you sometime as well. And I guess that's about it for the pickups portion of the podcast. So we're going to move on to previewing the All-Star game. I think there's about a few teams. They're all based on division. So we'll start with the East first. We'll start with the Metro Division. Give us your thoughts on this division.
Yeah, so we'll look at, I guess, the rosters for the All-Star game. And yeah, I think they're having a skills competition as we're recording. Of course, we won't be covering that, but yeah, some pretty cool results. I think Jordan Kyrou was the fastest skater. Some other events are still going on. So yeah, really good thing going on so far. Looking at the Metro Division, Sebastian Aho from Carolina, Claude Giroux from Philadelphia, Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh, Jack Hughes from New Jersey, Evgeny Kuznetsov from Washington, Chris Kreider from New York Rangers, Tom Wilson from Washington, Adam Pelech from the New York Islanders, Zach Werenski from Columbus, Frederick Anderson from Carolina, and Tristan Jarry from Pittsburgh. And both Adam Fox and Alex Ovechkin were replaced because of injuries and COVID. So, yeah, honestly, looking at this team, maybe their forwards are not as high end as, of course, no Crosby, no Ovechkin, and they are missing Adam Fox. So they might be one of the more shorthanded teams in this All-Star. I'm probably predicting them to get eliminated in the first round of the 3-on-3 tournament that they're doing for the All-Star game. As we get to the Atlantic Division, yeah, I think the Atlantic Division, their roster is a little bit deeper than this Metro Division, but I guess what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks like I feel like without Alex Ovechkin, I don't see Crosby on the roster either. So I guess it's going to be a little bit more difficult in terms of high end players who are really good at scoring. I think they have really decent, I guess, players that are not necessarily high end. They're like kind of a step below that, but they have a lot of those. So it's gonna be kind of they have a decent amount of depth, but maybe not enough high end to kind of go farther in the tournament. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess moving on to the Atlantic Division, give us your thoughts on the roster.
Yeah, so looking at this roster, we have Patrice Bergeron, Patrice Bergeron from Boston, Jonathan Huberdeau from Florida, Dylan Larkin from Detroit, Austin Matthews from Toronto, Steven Stamkos from Tampa Bay, Nick Suzuki from Montreal, Brady Tkachuk from Ottawa, Rasmus Dahlin from Buffalo, Victor Hedman from Tampa Bay, Jack Campbell from Toronto, and Andrei Vasilevsky from Tampa Bay. And of course, Drake Batherson was replaced because of an injury. Yeah, this team's really good in my opinion. You got good scoring from guys like Matthews and Stamkos. Bergeron solid as well. Larkin, Huberdeau's the leading scorer in the league right now. And you got top end defensemen like Dahlin, Hedman, and Campbell and Vasilevsky, I believe, won the save streak event in the All-Star skills. So, I mean, this is probably the best well-rounded team all the way through. You got good forwards, good defense, good goaltending. In that first round matchup against the Metropolitan Division, I'm expecting them to get the win.
Yeah, I feel like the Atlantic Division could possibly go all the way. I mean, they have two of the best goalies in the league right now. They have a lot of high end talent. Yeah, they're just really well rounded overall. I see, again, like you said, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Huberdeau. See Austin Matthews as well. Brady Tkachuk is a pretty good scorer, even though he's from Ottawa. I think Nick Suzuki is also pretty good, even though he's from Montreal. There's Steven Stamkos. It's like they have like a lot of high end talent and just a lot of depth overall. So I think they could actually win the entire tournament.
Yeah, definitely agree.
And I guess moving on to the Central Division, what are your thoughts on this roster?
Yeah, this roster is not too bad actually. Some good players here. You have Kyle Connor from Winnipeg, Alex DeBrincat from Chicago, Nazem Kadri from Colorado, Kirill Kaprizov from Minnesota, Clayton Keller from Arizona, Jordan Kyrou from St. Louis, Joe Pavelski from Dallas, Roman Josi from Nashville, Cale Makar from Colorado, UC Saros from Nashville, and Cam Talbot from Minnesota. And of course, Nathan McKinnon was replaced because of an injury. Yeah, this team pretty solid, good mix of young players, veteran players, pretty good goaltending, defense overall. Yeah, I really like this team. I guess we'll have to see how they stack up against the Pacific Division, but as of right now, I think this team looks pretty solid all the way through.
Yeah, I think it's a really well-rounded team. I like Cam Talbot. He's a really good goalie. UC Saros is also a really good goalie as well. So I think they're not really going to have any problems in terms of goaltending. In terms of scoring, they have a lot of really good scorers. I think I guess if you had to kind of compare all the divisions, I feel like the Central Division would kind of maybe be third overall in terms of strength. They're kind of like a better version of the Metro Division in terms of they don't necessarily have kind of like the biggest names in the league playing in this division, if that makes sense. But the talent that they do have is really talented, and they have a lot of it. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Central Division. And I guess we can move on to the Pacific Division. What are your thoughts on the Pacific Division?
All right, looking at this division, we have Leon Draisaitl from Edmonton, Jordan Eberle from Seattle, Johnny Gaudreau from Calgary, Adrian Kempe from LA Kings, Jonathan Marchessault from Vegas, Connor McDavid from Edmonton, Timo Meier from San Jose, Mark Stone from Vegas, Troy Terry from Anaheim, Alex Pietrangelo from Vegas, John Gibson from Anaheim, and Thatcher Demko from Vancouver. Yeah, I think this team, they have a lot more high-end talent than the Central Division. Whether their team is as well-rounded, we'll have to see. But I think, yeah, this team should be able to beat the Central Division, in my opinion. They'll get the goaltending. Gibson solid, Demko solid. They only have one defenseman that kind of concerns me. So some forwards are going to have to play on the back end. That could cost them. as long as they're able to score enough goals, they should be able to win. And then I guess I don't know. What are your thoughts on this team?
I guess this team is going to be the shootout team. They're probably going to try to sprint down the court and shoot as many shots as they can and try to outscore the other team. I see John Gibson and Thatcher Demko as the goaltenders. I think Thatcher Demko, he's okay. John Gibson, again, he's not bad at all. He's pretty solid as a goalie, but in terms of talent, I wouldn't put them over, I guess, Cam Talbot. I wouldn't put them over Andrei Vasilevsky. So I think they're probably going to be a team that kind of leans into offense the most. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think for the final, though, no matter who they face, I think the Atlantic Division is going to win it. I just like their overall roster. I don't know what your thoughts are on who you think is going to win the whole thing.
I think that the Atlantic Division is the strongest roster overall. I mean, the Pacific Division, they have high-end scoring. So does the Atlantic Division. Central Division has good goaltending. So does the Atlantic Division. Metropolitan Division has pretty good depth overall. So does the Atlantic Division. So it's like whatever the strengths are of the other divisions, the Atlantic Division has all of it. So they should pretty much be able to match every single division in every round.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they have such good talent. I think the hardest shots going on right now, and Victor Hedman, he's leading that. I think he hit 102 miles an hour. So I mean, yeah, they have so much talent on that roster. Yeah, it's really insane. Oh, he just hit 103. Wow, Hedman's crazy right now. But yeah, for sure, I definitely agree. I think going with the Atlantic, they're just a solid overall roster. I definitely think that they'll get it done. But the thing about the All-Star game is certain players outperform others, so you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how the entire tournament plays out. I'm actually kind of interested in seeing the Western Division games to see who kind of makes it out, because I think they have some pretty interesting rosters.
Yeah, I think that game's going to be more up in the air. I feel like Atlantic should be able to get it done, no problem on their end.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, do you have any final thoughts?
Honestly, All-Star weekend, some people don't like it. I've always looked forward to it. You know, you get to see the players perform skills, play in the All-Star game. The 3-on-3 format has sort of opened things up to make it more interesting. I know a lot of people didn't like the 5-on-5 because, you can't hit anybody. Like they felt like players weren't trying. But for 3-on-3, there's a lot more speed. Players sort of have to try or else they'll get left behind, essentially. So I like it a lot better.
Yeah, I kind of like the concept of 3-on-3. I guess when you play the game NHL, there's a 3-on-3 option. So it's a really fun format. So it should be a fun format to watch as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it'll draw more fan attention as well. Yeah, and we'll see which team comes out on top.
Yeah, for sure. And that about concludes this week of everything NHL. If you liked what you watched, you can subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a like, give us a review, and let us know your thoughts on the All-Star game. If you liked what you listened to, you can follow us on Spotify, and you can also follow us on Apple Music and Google Podcasts. If you need some sports picks, you can follow us at FanFan Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. And we'll see you guys next week.